Good morning, everyone. My name is Doris Gonzalez. I'm Executive Vice President at HESC, and we're so happy to have you join us today for this informational session on the healthcare workers for our future. Today, you're going to hear from our grants and scholarship team, Lisa Simpson, who's Director of College Services, Scholarships and Compliance, and Mike Turner, who's manager of college services, grants, and loan forgiveness programs, who are going to give an update on eligibility requirements. We'll go to the next slide. The processing for these healthcare workers for our future scholarships in the 24-25 academic year, as well as certification and payment. Joining us today also are Patty Thompson, Vice President of Grants and Scholarship, Angela Leota, Director of Communications, Lisa Hurley, who's managing the Healthcare Workers for Our Future program, and Renee Swift, who's the Scholarship Supervisor. So Mike is going to be moderating your questions via the Q&A feature. So click on the More icon at the bottom of the screen to find the Q&A. But before I turn the agenda over to our team, I wanted to share recent news about an event that I attended just a week ago today at the Henry Street Settlement in New York City. That was when Governor Kathy Hochul announced 3 new policies that are going to put money back in the pockets of millions of New Yorkers, centered around erasing insulin costs for diabetes patients, ensuring that pregnant workers are given paid leave for medical appointments, and minimum wage increases. Lots of great news, lots of details about the announcement, and you're going to see it in the link that's being posted in the chat. So I know that many of you heard Governor Hochul has also transformed access to higher education in our state, making it more equitable, more inclusive for all students. So key initiatives, again, I know a lot of you are familiar with this, but key initiatives like expanding TAP, the Universal FAFSA completion legislation, the DREAM Act, these are all helping to reduce financial barriers, empowering students, and increasing college enrollment and completion rates. And of course, you know, we're also very well aware with inflation and rising costs that are impacting everything to groceries, from groceries to childcare. The governor's affordability agenda really provides essential tools to ease financial pressures on families by making sure that they have access to federal and state financial aid. So these efforts underscore our governor's commitment to creating opportunities for academic success, workforce readiness, and building a stronger and more inclusive New York. There's also the significant enhancements to TAP, which, thanks to the governor, has undergone significant enhancements, expanding access for students who previously were not eligible. So again, I know you know all of this, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate that in the 24-25 executive budget, it increased the income threshold for eligible recipients and the minimum TAP award. So the minimum TAP award went from $500 to $1,000. The NTI limit, net taxable income for dependent students increased from 80,000 to 125,000. The NTI limit for independent married students increased from 40,000 to 60,000. And the NTI limit for independent single students went from $10,000 to $30,000. So truly it was historic in terms of this TAP expansion, and it's expected to benefit nearly 100,000 New York State students in both public and private colleges and universities, including 48,000 students who are going to be newly eligible for TAP. And again, with support from the legislature, the governor also reformed TAP. So expanded it to cover part-time students enrolled in 6 or more credits at SUNY, CUNY, or not-for-profit independent colleges, expanding it to support part-time students in non-degree training programs at community colleges, and restoring TAP funding eligibility for incarcerated individuals. So that gave, basically opening up opportunities for education, reducing recidivism, and enhancing post-release success rates. So we're really, really happy about that. And again, before I turn it over to Lisa, another piece of news that I want to share with this team, and you're getting it first, is that HESC is launching today the FAFSA Ready training program that's going to help high school counselors, community partners, and our own team with the tools and resources and support to support students in completing their FAFSA, TAP, and DREAM Act applications. We're also including a link to this webpage right in the chat. And then lastly, we're making sure that all eligible students are aware of and can access these resources, and we're working to simplify wherever we can the New York State application process. HESC and our partners like you, the financial aid administrators, are helping us to continue to work to increase access and support for our students through expanded outreach. So I personally am pleased to be here to answer questions. Mike is going to be doing that through the forum. Thank you so much for all you do for our students. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Lisa, someone everyone here knows so very well. So Lisa, thanks so much for all your efforts too, and for getting this group together to talk about this scholarship.
Of course, thank you. Okay, so I am very happy to say that we are there with the healthcare workers for our future processing. I want to thank the campuses for their patience while we develop the program to allow you to be able to certify and to process these awards. So I'm going to start off with just a little bit of a refresher, talking a little bit about the program eligibility for the program. So the Healthcare Workers for Our Future provides 2-year scholarship to approximately 500 recipients. The recipients were selected through a lottery process, and that has already been completed, and we have the population of students. The award covers, it's a cost of attendance award. So the cost of attendance is to be determined as the average cost of attendance at SUNY or the winner's actual cost of attendance, whichever is less. So it's either cost of attendance at SUNY or your actual cost of attendance, whichever is less for this scholarship. Students must attend a approved New York State public, so that would be a SUNY or a CUNY or a private college or university. And they must be matriculated in an approved field of study in a 2 or 4-year degree program. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. The awards cannot be used towards prerequisites. So I know a lot of schools were asking about if they can use it towards prerequisites. They cannot. So here are the approved fields of study: registered nurse program, respiratory therapist, clinical laboratory technologist, radiologic technology, surgical technology. So these are the approved programs that these students need to be in order to receive the funding for the award. The students are eligible to either be full-time or part-time, and we started with the fall 2024 semester. The part-time awards would be prorated based on the number of credits that the student is taking. For full-time students, they must complete their degree within 3 years from the date of enrollment. And for part-time students, we give them 5 years to complete their program by from the date of enrollment. So the winners have, so they don't have to start right away. Maybe they're still working on prerequisites. They have until fall of 2026 in order to start the program. If they do not enroll by fall of 2026, they will forfeit the scholarship. So we do give them a little bit of time if they're not quite ready to start, but by fall of 26, they will have to have started the program or forfeit the scholarship. So here's just a little comparison chart. So there's the associate degree path, and then there is the bachelor's degree path. For the associate's degree, they must live and work in New York, or live in New York, as well as for the bachelor's. We did allow for non-citizens to be eligible in the lottery for this program. So in addition to citizens, eligible non-citizen, dream students, non-citizens were also considered in the program. The students again must be matriculated, and they can be either full-time or part-time in an approved program. They both need to enroll, both programs need to enroll by fall of 2026. For the bachelor's program, the student needed to already have earned an associate degree by spring of 2024, so last spring, or they needed at least 60 credits by the end of the spring 2024 term, which would make them junior status as well. So they didn't have to have the actual associate's degree, but they would have to have the 60 credits if they don't already have an associate's. The selected winners, again, they are all set. They had to sign a prize agreement, which they agree to live in New York State and to work in an approved field in a federally designated health profession shortage area in New York State for 2 years within 12 months of graduation. So we do give them the 12 months before they must start in their field. The recipients were instructed, because again, we didn't in the beginning have the programming together. They were told to provide their colleges with copies of the prize agreements as confirmed. And we did ask colleges to defer tuition, fees, room and board, until we were ready for you to certify, which we are ready now. So that is kind of the little history of what happened after the students signed the prize agreement. So again, they have to have full-time employment 12 months after graduation in this certain area. They have to work for 2 years. I think the point here to this slide is if they don't fulfill the obligation, the total amount of the award granted is going to convert to a 10-year zero interest loan that will have to be repaid. And that's that is some of our other programs that have service requirements. It's in line with those as well. So that's kind of a background of the program. Now I want to talk a little bit about processing, because I think that's probably why you're all here, to hear how you get your money, which is what I'm going to start with now. So for 24-25, we had students complete the FAFSA and the TAP application. We also had them identify if they wanted to receive an award for 2024, and 278 students have completed the FAFSA and the TAP application and are ready for processing today. So the others must have been waiting either to 25 or 26, but 278 is pretty good. The award is a calculation of cost of attendance that I mentioned earlier. This program, it is a first dollar award. So you would not count any financial aid in this award calculation. And we'll go over the steps on what I'm talking about in just a moment. The students are not eligible for any other New York State financial aid, and the total award cannot exceed the total cost of attendance. So when I say it is a first dollar award, that means the Healthcare Workers for Your Future Scholarship Award is applied before any other financial aid, including Pell Grants, SEOG grants, institutional scholarships, private scholarships, and again, there is no other New York State financial aid. So this is a little bit different than some of our other scholarships where we are last dollar. This one is first dollar. So last week we got all the programming in place, and I just wanted to give you a screenshot of the View Student Record. I know that a lot of you work with View Student Record to see where you would see if you were looking for a specific student and working with one of your students. Here is the student data on View Student Record. As you can see, the scholarship type is a 73, which is healthcare workers. Then at the bottom, if you scroll all the way down to the View Student Record, you will see here that this is the payment data that we have set up, which is ready to go out on a roster for your certification. So you'll see that the scholarship type is down there. The program award is set to the minimum amount. What we do for first-time students is that we set the award for what a student would be if they were a commuter student. And we have the program points down at the bottom. So that's going to ensure that we make sure that we have that we are rewarding them for the amount of time that they are eligible for the program. So you can see that today. Here is the process of what we are going to do with the certification. So we added the scholarship IDs for 24-25 for those 278 students that are ready to start this year. And that's what moved over to the View Student Record. So that's what I just showed you. The information was sent from the HESC web. It's going to display there. We're all set with that. It's going to be provided on a comprehensive student status listing, which I'm happy to say your comprehensive student status listing today should have the students that are ready to go for the healthcare workers. So you should have gotten that this morning. So that's great news. The certification we're going to use is going to be the 800 roster series for schools, which is using the consolidated roster process. We set this process up similar to how we process certifications for World Trade Center and for the Merit Scholarship. We thought it would be easiest for schools to have a process that they already understood and that we already had something in place. So the roster will be on a 800 series, which will go out to the schools. We are going to send rosters out next Wednesday on the 16th. So we're going to process them on the 16th. So you will be receiving something. And I'm going to go through the steps of where to look and what to do with that. So um, the schools can certify the cost of attendance components once they get the rosters in their hand, and then they're going to return it to HESC like you do for the other programs. We will input the information and process it, and it will go out on a roster. And then the information from this program is also going to be on all our reports that we offer to schools. And I know a lot of you use customized reports to identify students or to determine what needs to be done. So yes, so the information is going to be added to all the reports, so you'll be able to access that way if you choose. And again, the program code for this program is a 73, and the program literal is HW, which is something that we provided to you a couple months ago. In late fall, we gave you the literal. So if you have a process where you load it into your software system, then you should already have it. If not, the record layouts are out on the HESC website for your use and your review. So a little bit about the certification before we go down to the details of what we're looking for you to certify. The schools can certify at the 100% liability date. The school, as I mentioned earlier, the scholarship cannot be used towards prerequisites in an approved field of study. Transfer students can maintain eligibility if they change schools, as long as they meet the eligibility requirements at the new school and they are enrolled in the appropriate approved program of study. So we do allow for transfers. Full-time students who fail a class but retain their full-time status during the semester can receive a full payment. So that would be someone who was dropped down after the 100% liability date. That rule is also in effect if the student is going part-time. We're going to take a snapshot of where they are at the 100% liability date, and that is what you would certify the student on. And payments cannot exceed 4 full-time payments, and that's where the TAP points come into the processing. So for the 278 students that we are talking about now that are ready to go, and there may be more, some people may be filing now or determining whether or not they're going to start with a spring term. But for that population, some of the students had already applied for both TAP and Excelsior. So if the student last week, we went through and reviewed everybody. If the student was on a roster for TAP or on as eligible for Excelsior, the HESC staff went in and decertified these students on the mainframe. So we needed to take the TAP award off and the Excelsior award off because they're not eligible for it before we could load on the healthcare workers for our future. So you may have seen some students, and there weren't a lot, but you may have seen some students who had a TAP award, and you might have even certified them for TAP. And then HESC went in and decertified them with a 9 miscellaneous denial. Then the next day, you would have seen that they are now listed as a recipient for the healthcare workers for our future. So I just wanted to let you know that we did have to alter some of these students' certifications because we needed to get the healthcare worker on there, and they are not eligible for any other New York State awards. So that happened last week. In case you were wondering why we would decertify something. So this chart should look familiar to everyone that certifies, especially certifying officers. This is what we use for our cost of attendance awards. And so the mandatory fee and the tuition, we use the SUNY in-state award or actual, whichever is charged is less. So for the independents, you would use the 8,900 figure as an example for tuition and fees. For the non-tuition, you would use the chart over here to determine what what is the maximum you can request for this program. And if you are less than that for tuition or you're less for room and board, you would use whatever charge is less. So this is something that we use for all our other cost of attendance programs. So you're going to follow the same process using this chart as a reference. So the one difference is the consolidated rosters and the consolidated RAs are not files that we send directly out to you. So if we send things out to you directly for TAP to certify, this is not part of that process. So for consolidated rosters and consolidated RAs, they're found in the reports area from the HESC web under standard reports. So you would be looking for the SU 8069, the consolidated scholarship roster, and the SU 8071 consolidated scholarship remittance advice. So that's where you're going to find what you need to certify these students. And just as a note of interest, Mike Turner in the fall did a full presentation on consolidated roster processing, which is out on the HESC website. So if you need more details than what I'm going to provide you here, you can certainly go in and look at his presentation. It's recorded and it's out on the website for more details, or if you have questions on other programs. So it is out there as well. But for today, we're going to talk about these two files and how you're going to get them. So you're going to go into the HESC website under reports. You're going to go in for the consolidated roster. And this is what the roster is going to look like, right? It'll be a list of students that you can certify. This example is World Trade, but it's the same premise, same fields. What I've highlighted here and what's in the parentheses are what you need to provide us with. That's the information that we need. And this is because this is a cost of attendance award. So we do need all the components. We need a budget type, we need the room and board, we need the books and transportation, and we need the Title IV cost of attendance. So this is what you need to complete everything that's in the parentheses. First, and I'm gonna go through each of these fields just so as a review. So for ones that you're looking for payment to be made, you're gonna obviously certify most with an eligible one. that means they've met all the criteria, they're still attending. Even if they withdrew from a course, but they still had the tuition liability, you're going to certify this group with a 1. Withdrawn with tuition liability, that is if they met all the eligibility requirements, but they withdrew from all classes before the end of the term. So you can, but they had a liability for full-time because they did it after the 100% liability date. So you would decertify, or you would certify those with a 3. These are the only 2 codes that will allow you to get a payment for the student. Even if the student is part-time, you're going to want to certify them with a 1 eligible, and I'll show you in a moment how we're going to know that they're part-time. So codes that are not going to result in a payment, which they make sense, they're not registered, they're not full-time. Again, if they're going to be part-time, you want to certify them with a 1, and you're going to put in full part-time in another field. Not matriculated, not in good academic standing, and miscellaneous. So these would be the codes, one of the codes that you would use if you wanted to decertify the student for the term. We don't really use waiver for this program. The SAP is, that they are making progress at the school level. We don't have strict SAP POP rules for this program as we do for TAP. So, but you are going to use the status code. And so we default to full-time. We assume that everybody's going to be full-time, but you're going to fill in either full-time or half-time, or the number of credits if they're taking 8 credits as an example. So you're going to fill in what the status is there so we know if the student is full-time or part-time. That we need to know the budget type. And this is where you're going to tell us if the student is a 1 or a 3 or both commuters. So they reside with their parents. A 2 is that they're living on campus, and so their budget will be higher. And a 4 is if they're living off campus in a house or an apartment that is not owned by their parent. They're not living with their parent, and they're not living in campus housing. So a 4 would be if they were renting from a neighbor to the campus or a stranger, they would be an off-campus 4. So again, I mentioned just for the calculation to start, we always start with a 1, a budget type of 1 commuter budget, because that is the lowest paying scholarship piece. So you're going to want to change that if they're either on campus or off campus housing. So make sure that you check that so they get as much room and board as they are entitled to. So this is what you will see. So you'll see a list of students, or you may just see 1 student, but this is what you will see at the bottom. The rosters have to be signed by the TAP certifying officer at the bottom. They need to complete all this information. The completed rosters then are emailed to the payments unit, and the email address is there. The staff will process the payments, and then they will go back out on a remittance advice. So the awards on the consolidated roster are 100% prepay, right? So you're going to get the money shortly after we release the roster next week. The consolidated remittance advice are produced bi-weekly to reflect the certification process and the award amounts to be paid. So you're going to send it back to us. Our staff is going to process it manually on your behalf. It's going to process at HESC, and then it's going to go out on the remittance advice for you to reconcile and the accounting. So this is what it looks like down here in the bottom. The example is in our test database is the merit scholarship, but it is along the same lines. So you're going to want to look when the TAP schedule says that it is remittance advice and academic accounting documents. You're going to want to look and see if there's anything out there for the healthcare workers on the reports that you're going to be looking through our reports. So that will give you an idea of when you can expect to see the results. And then the money will be processed depending on how your system is set up and your school is set up to receive the payments. And this is the accounting behind it. So this is the remittance advice process that you will be able to see on our website. So some resources, we're still building the resources, but the governor had an announcement out here for the healthcare workers. So that link is there. There's also frequently asked questions on the governor's website. This is when the program was initiated. What we are looking for is we are going to next week, we have the Q&As that are applicable to schools. So we wanted to wait until we had this meeting today to see if there were any other questions that we could add to our frequently asked questions that we're going to have on our website next week for your review. And I will send something out. We will send something out when that is available and ready for you. The other thing, because this is a new program, I was wondering, I think it might benefit for us to have what we call a drop-in event. We've done this with other programs and the colleges seem to like it. So we will schedule something probably in a couple weeks for you to come in. It'll probably be an hour and a half, where you can come in with any questions that you have on the healthcare workers that you either have questions with certification, you just want to know something that you can't find, or you just want to see how other schools are handling something. And it's just an open forum. There's no formal presentation. We did it for Excelsior in December, and it seemed to really work out well. So we're going to offer that up. It can be for any scholarship that is on a consolidated roster or on a consolidated RA. So we will get notification out to you about that training event shortly as well. So that is pretty much the high level process of where we are now with the healthcare workers for our future. And I think, Mike, there are some questions.
Hi, Lisa. Yes, so we do have some questions coming in Q&A, some of which we've already answered, but some that I'm gonna probably ask again just because other folks may have similar questions. There seems to be some confusion about the availability of awards for new students for the coming 25-26 year and the limitation on the number of recipients. So can you explain how that would work for future applicants?
Yeah, I believe this was a one-time 500 student program. So we don't have any guidance to do it for 25-26. Obviously, if something were to come up and they change the criteria, but right now there is no plan to reopen for another series at this time. It was just a
Right. And
one-time shot.
okay, and then a question about the budget codes used for on-campus, off-campus, commuter. What budget code should be used for a non-traditional adult student who's not residing with their parent?
So they would be using off campus, right? Because they are not living at home, they're not residing with their parents, and they're adult students.
And a few schools were asking about being able to identify HWFOF recipients at their schools. So is there anything that we can share with them, or just to wait for the coding to show on our system?
Well, the coding will show on our system for this year's students that have applied. We are not able to send out a global list because of privacy issues. And that is why we ask students to provide the copy of the prize agreement to the schools. So we can't, because of privacy, send out a full list. Of any participants. So it would be either they would have to apply and be ready to go, or they would have to tell the school. We can send out a reminder notice to the ones that we have not already reached out to see if they are planning to start, when they're planning to start, and what we can do. And I see that Angela might have more information on this.
Yeah, Lisa, I just wanted to add that students will have a copy of their prize agreement. So that is their proof that they are participating in this program. So if they come to the school can just ask them to provide a copy of their prize agreement.
Right. And some students probably don't even know where they want to go at this point because they're not planning maybe to start till 2026. So we wouldn't be able to do anything with that. But yes, we have asked them to give the prize agreement. And if you're working with a student, and they say they are a recipient, you can certainly reach out to Priority Services, which I know a number of you have already, just to kind of get the validation that they are they are a recipient. So that certainly, as you go through the registration process for 25, 26, and you're starting to get students, and a student comes in and says, I can't find my prize agreement or whatever, but I am a recipient, if we can tell you if they allow us to share that information, if they want us to let you know if they are a recipient and had not started yet.
And there's multiple questions about points and how it correlates with TAP points. If students have maxed out TAP points, are they eligible for this program? Can you explain
So
how point
yeah, so
accruals
these
work?
scholarship points will be different than TAP points. So we will be looking to make sure that the points reflect the 2-year eligibility, the 24 points for this program. So that's how the points, if you look on the view student record, I think that you can see that there are different points for different categories. So there's points for Excelsior, there's points for ETA, there's points for TAP, there's points for scholarship. So this is something we will be looking at the points for this program, only for this program, to get to the 24 points where they would have had 2 years worth of eligibility.
All right, and then this didn't come up in Q&A, but we've gotten a lot in Priority Services. What if the student is not in an eligible program this year or not attending this year? Can they defer the award and receive it in a future year?
Yeah, so they have until fall of 2026 to start the program. So if they happen to be on the list here and go out on a roster, you would just decertify them. And then we would take the points off, and then they have until fall of 2026 to restart the program, or to start the program.
All right, and then can you explain part-time awarding of this program?
Yep. So the part-time program, it will be prorated based on the number of credits that the student has taken. So for example, if there are 6 credits, they would get a half of will be the tuition up to the SUNY. It'd be half of the program eligibility for the year. It would be half of that per semester. So let me
And
get
is there a
back.
minimum number of part-time in credits? Can they be below 6?
I believe they can be below 6. I believe they can be down as low as 1. Angela, could you confirm that?
That is correct. And I think I just want to, there seems to be a lot of confusion about the overall program. So I just wanted to just clarify that maybe I just take a step back, Lisa, to your initial slides in the very beginning. So this program was a program that opened about a year and a half ago for people to go in and register for, I'll call it a chance to win a scholarship, right? So out of that lottery, we selected 500 recipients. So it's the original 500 recipients who were selected, who are able to obtain this, who obtain this award. No additional, as Lisa mentioned, no additional rounds will be happening as of now, unless the governor decides to do another program at some point in time. The recipients have up until fall of 2026 to register. After they register, they have 3 years if they're full-time to use the award, or 5 years if they're part-time to use the award. So I just wanted to put some clarification around that because I see a lot of questions coming in around that. So as Lisa mentioned earlier, we have everybody, sorry, I have a new cat, and he's like climbing on everything. So I apologize if he's in the view. As
Well,
Lisa
we don't
mentioned,
see you, Angela.
you don't? Oh, okay.
No,
Sorry. Oh, okay.
I
I'm not
don't.
sure why. How do you see me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So, so as I was saying that, they have until 2026 to register. So for 24, 25, the recipients will be in our HESC system. But then as Lisa mentioned earlier, as new students come on for 25 and 26, that's when they'll be uploaded to our system again. So I just wanted to put some clarification around that because there was a lot of questions about how people can apply and if there's, if this is available to new recipients.
And
Thank you.
so there are some also questions about the Nurses for Our Future program, which I think some people conflate with this Healthcare Workers Future for Our Future program because of the similar names. Can we provide any updates on that program to schools who have concerns about that one?
Yep, we are, that is on my to-do list for Monday to focus on that, to get that up and running as well. That one is a tuition only award, so it's a little bit different. I know that we did start that in 2022, so we will be determining how the best effective way to get those students paid as soon as possible. It is on my radar to start really pushing to get that into production very shortly as well.
So it looks like we've answered majority of the major questions that have come in. We are going to compile the Q&A and a copy of the PowerPoint and a recording of the presentation. And we're going to put that in our training and webinars area, which is in the financial aid administrator section of HESC web. So I really do want to promote folks going on to our HESC website and looking under the financial aid professionals area where you would usually log in to, process TAP certifications, but there are a lot of resources that are nestled underneath the login links. So take a look at our website. We do have a streamlined training and webinars page with a number of different training topics, and this one will be included with a copy of the presentation. So does anybody want to say any closing words to our schools?
No, I would like to thank everyone for taking the time. I know it is a really busy time of the year for you, but we felt it was important to get this information out to you as soon as possible. I know that you've been patiently waiting and we thank you. If you have any problems or if you would like to discuss anything, Priority Services is where you would go and we will be happy to help you. Patty?
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you to you for attending today. What you see and what you've heard today represents a considerable amount of work for our team, but we're happy to do it and we're happy to present this information to you today. So stay tuned for more. As Lisa said, and as Mike also indicated, we're putting more information and more resources on our website. So we're looking forward to all of that as well. Okay. And as always, our priority service team is available for any questions that you have. You know how to get in touch with the team, and we're happy to be available for any of those questions following this, which was, I think, a really comprehensive view of this particular scholarship, but of course, for any other issues as well. Thank you.
And if you think of any questions after you or finish this presentation, send them to Priority Services because like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have FAQs available next week. So we want to incorporate what your questions are. So if you think of anything or you're bored over the weekend and you want to think about, healthcare workers, feel free to send us the questions. Thanks.
Lisa, there's also a healthcare worker's email address. Is that not being used?
It is being used. Yep. It's healthcare workers.
We can post it in.
Yeah, we'll post
So
it in
which
chat.
one do you want the team to use?
Either if it's an issue with certification and roster processing, probably you want to go to Priority Services because that's where we'd be able to help you. If it's general healthcare questions or FAQs, you can go to the healthcare workers, which Angela just posted on our chat because that I forgot about that email address. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, great.
Then our team will be able to answer the questions for that.
Fabulous. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good
Take care.
weekend.
Thank you.
Great weekend. Bye-bye.